Is there any food more satisfying for the heart, mind, and tummy than deep dish pizza? Exactly, we agree. And wouldn't it be great to learn how to make this hearty meal at home? Just imagine knowing the doughy, cheesy, oeey, gooey deliciousness you are biting into was created in your very own kitchen. The world lost a sports icon in June 2016 when legendary boxer Muhammad Ali died from septic shock following a long battle with Parkinson's disease. Today, his legacy lives on through his talented family tree. Fans of the heavyweight champion are likely most familiar with his daughter Laila Ali, who became a legend in her own right when she dominated her dad's sport, eventually retiring with an undefeated 24-0 record, according to Biography. In the span of just a short few years, however, Muhammad's grandson has emerged as the newest star of the famous family. He's already made headlines for his incredible athletic skill and equally impressive genetic looks, but don't think you're going to see him floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee in a boxing ring anytime soon. Get to know rising star Biagio Ali Walsh, born September 4, 1998, a name you'll likely hear more of in the years to come. Muhammad Ali's grandson traded boxing gloves for the gridiron as Muhammad Ali's grandson. No one should be surprised to hear that Biagio Ali Walsh was born a natural athlete. However, he chose to pursue football over boxing, climbing the ranks at his Las Vegas high school before joining the University of California, Berkeley's roster in 2017. After struggling there with his performance and some injuries per Bear territory, Ali Walsh transferred to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas in August 2019, where he joined the Rebels as a running back. So, how did the grandson of a boxing great come to choose the gridiron over the ring? Ali Walsh told Sports Illustrated in January 2017, "All my friends were playing flag football, and I got into flag, and it was fun. In 7th grade, I tried out tackle for the first time, and I didn't play that much. Good thing Keith Kamikawa has formulated a deep dish pizza recipe that is bound to become a favorite in your home. The truth is this recipe is a bit involved because you making a deep dish pizza completely from scratch. But we have a strong feeling the result will be 100% worth it, whether you whip up this pizza for a party of one, or a crowd, on a weekend at home, or to take to a get-together. 8th grade, I took a year off. But freshman year came around, and in high school I wanted to start it up again, and I guess it worked out from there." But don't think his famous grandfather wasn't proud. Speaking with CBS KPIX5, Ali Walsh said Ali was a fan of the sport and would FaceTime him ahead of big games. "No matter the occasion or who you are serving, trust us that food doesn't get more enjoyable than the process of cooking, baking, and indulging in this deep dish treat. Gather your dough and sauce ingredients for this deep dish pizza recipe. Your shopping list for this deep dish pizza recipe is decently extensive, but the truth is, you may have many of the needed ingredients on hand already. Gather or shop for unbleached, all-purpose flour, yellow cornmeal, kosher salt, sugar, a packet of instant yeast, unsalted butter, extra virgin olive oil, onion, dried oregano, garlic, a can of whole peeled tomatoes, fresh basil, a lemon, sliced mozzarella cheese, and grated Parmesan cheese." We asked Kamikawa why he opted for the unsalted variety of butter for his recipe, and he explained to Mashed, "Unsalted butter is always a good idea in cooking. This allows you to control the saltiness of the food. In other words, you can always add more salt to your sauce if needed. That's right, you have the control. Meanwhile, once you have all your ingredients, it's time to turn your attention to your pizza dough. Create your pizza dough for this deep dish pizza recipe. To kick off your pizza dough for this deep dish pizza recipe, you will combine your all-purpose flour, yellow cornmeal, kosher salt, a tablespoon of sugar, and the instant yeast in a mixer, mixing the ingredients until they are well combined. We asked Kamikawa why he adds sugar to the dough, and he explained, sugar is needed in the dough to feed the yeast. He even attended a game during Ali Walsh's sophomore year and got to witness the high school star complete an impressive 92-yard run. Muhammad Ali's grandson has no love for the gloves. Boxing just wasn't in the cards for Biagio Ali Walsh, who admitted to Sports Illustrated that he never took to the sport as a kid. "Me and my brother would train in boxing when we were really young with our uncle, and Nico found a passion for it," he said. "But I didn't feel what he felt. I was 9, Nico was 7 or 8. He told Bleacher Report, I feel like boxing isn't in my type, because I like a team sport. I like to have the links to a chain to build up a team." No, Biagio Ali Walsh wasn't named after a casino. Biagio Ali Walsh is the son of the Muhammad Ali's daughter, author Rashida Ali Walsh above, and her husband, Chef Bob Walsh. This helps the leavening process, allowing the dough to rise. In fact, for this recipe, your pizza dough will rise not once, but twice. Next, go ahead and add 4 tablespoons of melted, unsalted butter and your lukewarm water to the mixer, mixing the ingredients on a slow speed to begin. According to Sports Illustrated, Ali Walsh got his first name, Biagio, from his Sicilian-born great-grandfather on his dad's side. Then Kamikawa tells home cooks to turn the speed up to medium for 5 minutes. It's a very Italian name, he told the magazine. Sometimes it gets mispronounced. You are looking for your dough to cling together and pull away from the bowl before moving on to the next step in the process. Allow your dough to rise for this deep dish pizza recipe. At this stage in this deep dish pizza recipe, you will remove the dough from the mixer and form the dough into a big ball. Often, actually. They say Bellagio, like the hotel. Given the fact that he grew up in Las Vegas, that had to be annoying. His classmates didn't know they went to school with Muhammad Ali's grandson growing up with the greatest in your family tree can be both a blessing and a curse, so it makes sense that Biagio Ali Walsh wasn't shouting his family's legacy from the rooftops when was just a little kid. Back then, it was a huge secret who our grandfather was, Ali Walsh told ESPN. Coat a bowl with about a teaspoon of olive oil, then roll the dough ball in the oil until it is covered. Next, go ahead and wrap the bowl tightly with plastic wrap. You will leave the dough at room temperature for 1 hour. We know it's hard to wait. If we liked you enough, we would tell you. Ultimately, you want your dough to double in size before moving on to the next step. Now, we wanted to know from Kamikawa if someone does not have a mixer, can they still make this deep dish delight? As he told Mashed, you certainly could make this without a mixer, and definitely with just your hands. He added, a lot of pizza traditionalists will use their hands for mixing. In fact, there are certain mixers that mimic mixing pizza dough by hand. Create your tomato sauce for this deep dish pizza recipe while your pizza dough for this deep dish pizza recipe is doubling in size. Get started on your pizza sauce. You will melt unsalted butter in a pot, set to medium heat. Once that is bubbling, add the minced onion, dried oregano, salt, and garlic, sautéing the ingredients for about 4 minutes. But we kept it a secret, because we didn't want people to be me and Nico's friends just because of who we were related to. That changed in 2007, when Muhammad Ali made a surprise visit to one of Ali Walsh's 4th grade basketball games. You're looking for your onions to get translucent and start to brown. Everybody just stopped what they were doing and looked, Ali Walsh told ESPN. Then, add in your whole peeled tomatoes and sugar. The ref was like, what the? World's greatest grandpa, literally. Biagio Ali Walsh enjoyed a great relationship with his grandfather, telling Sports Illustrated of fond memories he had with him, particularly during family gatherings on Thanksgiving. Why sugar? Kamikawa notes, the sugar brings out the natural sweetness in the tomatoes. But he also added, if you want to leave it out, it is certainly an option, keeping the sauce a bit tangier. You will bring your sweet or tangy sauce to a simmer, employing a spoon to break up the tomatoes into smaller pieces, but not too small, with Kamikawa noting the sauce should remain chunky. The sauce will simmer for about 10 minutes, at which point you can remove it from heat and add in your basil, a little olive oil, and the lemon. He loved magic tricks, Ali Walsh also shared. So Nico would bring his magic kit, and we would show him cool tricks. As the recipe's creator told us, adding the basil at the end keeps it full-flavored and fragrant. He loved it. Growing up, being around him, he was a grandfather, Ali Walsh told ESPN. Adding it at the beginning, you will lose a lot of what makes fresh basil so wonderful. Prep your pizza dough to rise a second time for this deep dish pizza recipe. Okay, so now it's on to prepping your dough for a second rise for this deep dish pizza recipe. But to the public, he was an icon. You will roll the dough ball you formed out on the counter into a rectangle that is about a 1/4 inch in thickness. And then we'd go over on Thanksgiving and see him in person. Spread your softened butter onto the dough. This is the guy the first was just watching on YouTube. That was crazy, I'd trip out like that. Ali Walsh also said the pre-match trash talking that Muhammad Ali was often infamous for was really just an act. At this point, roll the dough and form it into a log.
He had to talk because boxing was more individual, Ali Walsh told ESPN. Now, cut the log in half, using a rolling pin to flatten both pieces of dough until they are a 1/2 inch thick. You will roll the 2 separate pieces again into smaller logs and then form the 2 logs into balls. Here's where you place the 2 dough balls. Kamikawa notes they should each be seam side down, into the oiled bowl, rolling the balls in the oil again, and covering the bowl tightly with plastic wrap once again. But behind the cameras, my grandfather was one of the most humble people you'll ever meet. This time, your dough goes into the fridge for an hour. Each piece should double in size. As for why you will go through this process a second time, Kamikawa explained, having the dough rise twice is needed for the entire leavening process. Without it, the dough would not rise properly when baking after the butter is added. Prep this deep dish pizza recipe for the oven. Once your dough balls have doubled in size, you are officially ready to start assembling your deep dish pizza recipe. Hooray! First, preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. He definitely talked, and he told us that he talked a lot for people to pay, for the entertainment aspect of it. That's why he did the talking. You will roll each of your dough balls into a circle that is about 1/4 inch thick and about 12 to 13 inches in diameter. Grab 2 9-inch pans, which you will coat with olive oil so your dough, which you worked so hard on, doesn't stick. So it would sell. Biagio Ali Walsh is still in the knockout business. Given how attractive and charming his grandfather was, it should come as no surprise that Biagio Ali Walsh grew up to be gorgeous. Kamikawa says at this stage, you will lay dough into each pan and ever so gently form the dough around the sides of the pan. He recommends looking for the dough to be even all the way around, pressing lightly around the edges and bottom of the dough to achieve this desired effect. Next up is a seriously cool secret trick that sets this deep dish pizza apart from the rest, courtesy of the chef. Layer on your cheese first for this deep dish pizza recipe. Now, Kamikawa instructs home cooks to evenly layer sliced mozzarella cheese atop each pizza dough. Yes, this is the very first step, before you add the sauce, with the recipe's creator telling mashed, this is key to the pizza. He notes, placing the cheese directly on the dough shields the crust from the pizza sauce, ensuring the crust will rise properly and bake up nice and crisp. If you forego this step, you may end up with soggy dough, which obviously no one wants. Once the cheese step is complete, this is when you add half of your pizza sauce on top of each pie. In June 2016, Ali Walsh, above middle, confirmed on Twitter that he was signed to acclaimed modeling agency Wilhelmina. As for how the whole modeling thing started, Ali Walsh told Sports Illustrated, when I was about 5 years old, I was with Ford Chicago. Next, dust each pie with a generous helping of Parmesan cheese. We know, this meal is looking ridiculously delicious. Good thing the only step left in the pizza making process is the baking, which doesn't take too long. When we moved to Vegas, things just didn't work out. So I was done with modeling. Okay, it may feel long, but we got this. Bake this deep dish pizza recipe. You will bake your pizzas in the oven for about 30 minutes. Kamikawa reminds home cooks to rotate their pies halfway through the bake, aiming for a golden brown crust. He also recommended to mashed, always be sure to set a timer, nobody is too good for a timer. He also suggests, you can check on your pizzas at 20 minutes and see the progress, since each oven is a little different, so cook times can vary. And rest assured, as he told us, checking on the pizza while it is baking won't hurt the pie. After your pies are golden and bubbly, do your very best to not dig in, and allow the pizzas rest for 10 minutes. Then, I think it was in March of last year, I got a Twitter direct message from an agent with Wilhelmina Models. He said that he was from Wilhelmina, and he was interested in signing me as a model. This will make slicing easier. I didn't know what Wilhelmina was. So I researched it, and it turned out it was a huge agency, so I went to my parents, and we tried to get things going. Muhammad Ali inspired his grandson's ink. Biagio Ali Walsh has honored his grandfather's legacy through a series of tattoos, which, unlike a lot of celebs, we're pretty sure he'll never come to regret. The final step is to carefully remove your pies from the pans with a spatula. Relocate them onto a cutting board, slice, and yes, eat. According to TMZ, Ali Walsh got tattoos on his forearms in December 2016. One arm has a butterfly and the other sports a bee. The tattoos pay homage to Muhammad Ali's famous quote, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee."
Ali Walsh told CBS KPIX5 that he got the ink during his senior year of high school, and that he generally gets compliments on the artwork even though people somehow don't make the connection to his grandfather's catchphrase. The Ali family legacy has a dark side. Speaking to ESPN in 2017, Biagio Ali Walsh's mother, Rashida Ali Walsh, shared concerns about her son's playing professional sports, fears that were no doubt influenced by her father's long battle with Parkinson's disease, which doctors say was caused by boxing. "I don't want Biagio to play football and I don't want Nico to box," she confessed. "I want them to swim or play golf or something that wouldn't worry me as much. But then I realize, what if my grandmother had taken away my dad's dream from him in boxing?" She continued, "My dad loved boxing so much, but he should have retired a lot sooner. He didn't want to say goodbye to boxing. He let boxing say goodbye to him." Follow Biagio Ali Walsh's greatness on the gram. There are a lot of celebs who refuse to make their personal lives public by logging on to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the like. However, like basically every other millennial out there, Biagio Ali Walsh is very active on social media. He has more than 20,000 followers and counting on Twitter, while his Instagram account boasts more than 100,000. His Instagram offers an especially close look at the youngster's life, where he posts photos with friends, modeling shots, and snaps from football games. If you have about 4 mindless hours to spare, you can follow him here.